I say that most black preachers, most black politicians, most black civil rights workers are the enemy of black America, not white conservatives. Only a fool would allow his enemy to educate his children. Let me say that again. Only a fool, gun to your head, a fool would allow his enemy to educate his children. Pause for effect. Now, what did we do? After slavery, of course, yeah, that was segregation down south. That was meanness. That was low downness. Democrats hated black people for many different reasons. They thought we were inferior, The biggest trick they played was not them thinking they were inferior. The worst thing they did was they made us believe it also. Yeah, they made us believe that we were inferior to them. We still compare ourselves to white America in all of these various ways. And it is a sick mindset that we have. But since we're doing it, let's play the game. Let's look at public education. There's this achievement gap that we talk about inside of black America all the time between black and white people. And the achievement gap is awesome. White children are much better educated than black children. Math, sciences, reading, you name it. If you want to compare, let's compare. A third of black students down south were educated at these Rosenwald schools. Black education in America, listen to me, because I know y'all have heard lies about this. Black education in America before Brown versus Board of Education, even though we got less money, maybe about 2/3 less, was as good as white education. Oh, you don't believe me? You gonna call me a lie? Well, let me read it to you. In my book, Iron Triangle, I talk about the myth of Brown versus Board of Education. And I'm going to read you what the Supreme Court said. Not what I said, what the Supreme Court said. So this is what was going on in Brown. The Supreme Court, the NAACP was suing the state of South Carolina and some schools in Topeka, Kansas. They said that the concept of separate but equal was unequal. They proved that these white schools were getting much more than the black schools, because in Plessy versus Ferguson, the Supreme Court had ruled that as long as the facilities were equal, they could remain separate. So y'all all heard the concept of separate but equal. So as long as they were equal, they could remain separate. Well, NAACP said they're not equal. That these states are giving black students much less than they're giving white students. That was the case. And then NAACP said, well, we want to integrate. Well, these school systems knew that they were unequal. They knew they were giving black students less. So when they were called on the carpet, they said, ooh, we got to fix this, y'all, because we are not in compliance. And we got to do it quick before they come down with the decision in the Supreme Court. And so they then made all the facilities equal. Over about a 2 or 3 year period of time, they bought black children's school buses. They built the schools. They got them new school books. They made sure that teacher salary was also equal to white teacher salary. Don't believe me? Let me read it to you. Because in Brown versus Board of Education, they talked about it. In the Brown opinion, it said, in the instant cases, the question is directly presented. Here, unlike Sweat versus Painter, which was another case where they proved that the facilities were unequal and that they had to make them equal. Here, unlike Sweat versus Painter, there are findings below that the Negro and white schools involved have been equalized or are being equalized with respect to, listen to this, with respect to buildings, curricula, qualifications, and salaries of teachers and other tangible factors in the Negro and white schools involved in each of the cases. They're being equalized, or they're equal in buildings, curricula, qualifications, and salaries of teachers and other tangible factors in Negro and white schools. So what did they say? Since they are equal in all other aspects, we must look instead to the effect of segregation itself on public education. So that lie y'all been hearing for the last 70 years, the white children wasn't getting what the black children wasn't getting what the white children were getting. We didn't have the buses. We didn't have the school. They were treating us like dogs. That's a lie. Looking like a bunch of fools fighting and raising hell all the time. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, you name them. And they're trying to produce George Floyds all over the country. Everywhere you get a bunch of George Floyds, you know what you got? You got a bunch of Democrats. Everywhere you got poverty, hatred. Good God, man. You can't even bring the Ten Commandments in school. What do you have against the Ten Commandments? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not commit adultery. I can see why you got a problem with that one with being a liberal. Thou shalt not covet. Yeah, well, there it is. That's why you don't want the Ten Commandments, because if people follow the Ten Commandments, they cannot be a Democrat. Why? Democrats want to kill your babies. Democrats want to put LGBTQ and transition your children. Oh, they want to turn your children into sex objects. They want to take them and groom them. Oh, yeah, man. And look, here's something else you better look out for. These pedophiles, yeah. They call them, they don't want to call them pedophiles. They call them MAPs now, minor attracted persons. They're coming. They are working to get the age of consent taken off the books of every state so they can come and rape your babies. And they're all in the Democratic Party, a bunch of baby rapers. You better watch them. They coming. Child pornography is all out there. I'm trying to wake y'all up to who these perverts are. Now, we got one shot of taking this back and one shot taking it back right now. It's tipping point. And it's school choice. School choice comes in vouchers. That means that whatever money goes to you, goes to your child, that $14,000 I was talking about, that goes to you and you decide how that child is educated. Whether you homeschool that child, whether you send that child to a Christian school, whatever. You also can have tax credits. That means whatever money you pay in taxes comes back to you. You can use that for education. You can use scholarships. That means people that give money in a scholarship fund can write it off on taxes. You can take that scholarship money, get your child an education. You can do it like you do a Pell Grant. Well, when your child goes to college, children get Pell Grants. There's 1,000 ways to do it. Why don't they want it? Very simple. The teachers union, the NEA, and the ATF are some of the biggest unions in America. They give tens of millions of dollars a year to the Democrat Party. They give tens of millions of dollars a year, period, but 99% of it goes to the Democrat Party. And they tell the Democratic Party, we do not want competition. We want a monopoly. We want that body, that $14,000. We want the body that follows that $14,000. We don't, and then they tell the Democratic Party, we don't want any standards when it comes to our teachers. If we educate them, fine. If we don't educate them, fine. You can't fire us. You can't do nothing. And the Democrats say, how much money are you going to give us? Well, all the money that they give the Democratic Party in contributions, there it is. Teachers get raises. They pay their dues. Dues go to the Democratic Party. Democratic Party uses it to stay elected. Classic money laundering, y'all. I talk about it well in my book, Crime Inc. You need to get it. Your children are being used as bodies. That's it. Matter of fact, they don't want them educated. An educated man cannot be a slave. They are getting 90% of the black vote in places like Detroit, Memphis, Chicago, LA, all these places. And as long as they're getting 90% of the black vote down there, do you think they're going to try to educate black people any better? So they won't get the black vote anymore? Parents, this is your decision. You have to decide. You have to say, I want my children to have a better life than me. This is always the American dream, to have your children live better than you. You got to love your children more than you hate the Republican Party or the conservatives. Because usually it's conservatives that are pushing school choice. You know why? Because black people teach their children to be inferior. The Democratic Party teaches you to be inferior. Malcolm asked the question, who taught you to hate yourself? From the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Who taught you? Black Democrats taught you that. They're the ones that scream no justice, no peace. Martin Luther King was the one that said, how can I pull myself up by my bootstraps when I'm bootless? Al Sharpton them said, get your knee off my neck. No justice, no peace. We poor, we hungry, we can't make it. White supremacy. You've heard me say it before and I'll say it again. No one is superior to me. Why? Because I'm an heir of Jesus Christ. I'm a child of God. White supremacy is like voodoo. You have to believe it for it to have any effect on you.